After 15 years of marriage, my wife called me dead weight and said she'd found someone better. I smiled calmly and said no problem at all. By week's end, her secret accounts were exposed, her lover was fired for fraud, and she was begging me not to take our son away from her forever. My name is Adrian Burke. I'm 44 years old, and I've been married to Vanessa for 15 years. We have a 5-year-old son named Elijah who means everything to me. I run my own electrical contracting business here in suburban Denver, and I thought I had built a pretty good life for my family. It was a Tuesday in October when my world shifted. I'd gotten up early to prep for a big commercial job downtown. Vanessa was already awake, sitting at our kitchen island with her laptop open and her phone buzzing constantly. She was dressed in that expensive black dress I'd never seen before. "Early client today?" I asked, pouring myself coffee. Vanessa looked up with this cold expression I'd never seen before. "Adrian, we need to talk." I leaned against the counter, mug in hand. "Sure. What's on your mind?" She stood up, smoothed down that expensive dress, and looked me straight in the eye. "I've been thinking about us, about our marriage. I'm not happy. I haven't been happy for a long time. I've outgrown this life, Adrian. I've outgrown you." The coffee mug suddenly felt heavy in my hands. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I found someone who actually sees me for who I am. Someone who appreciates my ambitions. Someone who isn't content to just fix other people's electrical problems for the rest of his life." "You're having an affair," I said. Vanessa shrugged like we were discussing the weather. "His name is Trevor. He's a bank manager. He's sophisticated. And he actually listens when I talk about expanding my business." I set my mug down carefully, my hand steadier than I expected. "How long? Does it matter? The point is, Adrian, you're dead weight. I found someone better, someone who can actually provide the life I deserve." I looked at her for a long moment, this woman who'd shared my bed for 15 years, who'd given me the son sleeping upstairs. And I smiled, not because I was happy, but because something cold had just awakened inside me. "No problem at all," I said calmly. Vanessa blinked, clearly expecting tears or shouting. "That's it? That's your response? What would you like me to say?" I asked, still smiling. "That I'll fight for someone who's already made up her mind? That I'll beg someone who thinks I'm dead weight to stay?" She looked confused, maybe even disappointed. "I thought you'd at least try to..." "To what? Change your mind? You've obviously been planning this for a while. So go ahead, Vanessa. Be with your bank manager." I picked up my thermos and tool bag, kissed her forehead like I had every morning for 15 years, and headed for the door. "Where are you going?" she called after me. "To work," I said without turning around. "Someone's got to pay the bills." I drove to my first job site that morning on autopilot, my mind processing what had just happened. 15 years of marriage gone, just like that. But as I pulled into the parking lot of Morrison Electronics, something clicked into place. I wasn't devastated. I was focused. The commercial rewiring job kept my hands busy, but my brain was working overtime. Trevor Hamilton, bank manager. Sophisticated, according to Vanessa. I made a mental note to look him up later. For now, I had electrical panels to replace and a reputation to maintain. Around noon, my phone buzzed. Text from Vanessa, picking up Elijah early from kindergarten, taking him to Dr. Morrison for his checkup. That stopped me cold. Elijah's appointment wasn't until next week. I'd marked it on my calendar because I specifically asked to be there. We'd been trying for years to have a child, and when Elijah finally came along through IVF, I made sure never to miss his medical appointments. I called Dr. Rachel Morrison's office directly. "Hi, this is Adrian Burke. My wife just texted about bringing Elijah in today, but I thought his appointment was next Thursday." The receptionist paused. "Actually, Mr. Burke, Mrs. Burke called this morning asking to move it up. She said you had a work emergency and couldn't make the original time." My jaw tightened. "I see. Thank you." I hung up and stared at my phone. Vanessa was already rewriting our history, making decisions about our son without consulting me. This wasn't just about her affair anymore. This was about Elijah. I finished the job early and drove straight to Dr. Morrison's office. I'd known Rachel for 6 years, ever since Elijah was born. She was professional but warm, the kind of doctor who actually listened when parents had concerns. I waited in the parking lot until I saw Vanessa's BMW pull out. Then I went inside. "Adrian," Dr. Morrison said when she saw me in the hallway. "I thought you had a work emergency." "No emergency," I said. "Can we talk privately?" She led me to her office and closed the door. Is everything all right? I sat down across from her desk. Rachel, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Has Vanessa been bringing Elijah to appointments without me recently? Dr. Morrison's expression grew cautious. Adrian, you know I can't discuss specific. I'm his father. I interrupted. I have every right to know about my son's medical care. Has she been coming alone? She sighed. The last 3 appointments, yes. She said you were too busy with work to attend. 3 appointments I never knew about, I said quietly. She also asked me about documenting Elijah's anxiety. Dr. Morrison continued. She said he'd been acting out of home, having trouble sleeping. She wanted it in his medical record. My blood ran cold. Elijah's been fine at home. No anxiety, no acting out. He's a happy, well-adjusted kid. Dr. Morrison leaned forward. Adrian, what's going on? I looked at this woman who'd helped bring my son into the world, who'd seen him through every milestone. My wife is having an affair. She told me this morning she wants out of our marriage. And now I'm wondering if she's building a case to take Elijah away from me. The silence stretched between us. Finally, Dr. Morrison spoke. I've been treating children for 20 years, Adrian. Elijah is one of the most well-adjusted kids I've seen. No signs of anxiety, no behavioral issues. In fact, he lights up whenever he talks about building projects with his dad. Will you document that? I asked. Already have, she said. And Adrian, if you need an expert witness regarding Elijah's well-being, you know where to find me. I drove home that evening with a new understanding of what I was facing. This wasn't just about Vanessa's affair. This was warfare, and she'd already fired the first shot. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated me. The next morning, I did something I'd never done in 15 years of marriage. I hired a private investigator. Danny Walsh came recommended by a buddy who'd gone through a messy divorce 2 years back. We met at a diner on the outskirts of Denver, away from prying eyes. So your wife's having an affair, Danny said, stirring sugar into his coffee. You want proof? I want everything, I said. Financial records, timeline, evidence of her building a false case against me regarding our son. Danny raised an eyebrow. That's specific. I told him about the secret doctor visits, about Vanessa's attempts to document non-existent behavioral issues with Elijah. Danny listened without taking notes, but I could tell he was cataloging every detail. This Trevor guy, Danny said. You know where he works? First National Bank downtown. He's a manager there. And your wife's business? Vanessa's beauty salon on Colfax. She owns it outright. Bought it 3 years ago with money from a commercial electrical job I did for a hotel chain. Danny nodded. I'll need access to your financial records, phone bills, anything that shows unusual patterns. How long? I asked. Give me a week. Maybe less if your wife's as sloppy as most cheaters. That evening, I picked up Elijah from kindergarten myself. I called in sick to work, something I rarely did, but this was more important than any electrical job. Daddy, Elijah ran to me, his backpack bouncing. Mrs. Taylor said we're going to learn about electricity next week. I told her my daddy knows everything about electricity. Is that right? I said, lifting him up. What do you want to know? How do light switches work? I spent the drive home explaining circuits and current flow in terms a 5-year-old could understand. Elijah listened with the same intense focus I brought to complex wiring jobs. Smart kid. My kid. At home, Vanessa was already getting ready for another late consultation. I watched her apply makeup in the bathroom mirror, noticed how she'd started wearing perfume again after years of claiming it gave her headaches. Working late again? I asked. Bridal party consultation, she said without missing a beat. 6 bridesmaids want matching treatments before a wedding this weekend. Sounds expensive. $2,500 expensive, she said with a smile. Not bad for 4 hours of work. I nodded, filing away another lie. Vanessa had never worked weekend weddings. She'd always said they interfered with family time. After she left, I sat down with Elijah for dinner. He told me about his day, about the book his teacher read, about the art project they were working on. Normal 5-year-old chatter that reminded me what I was fighting for. Later, after Elijah was asleep, I went through her home office. Bank statements, insurance papers, warranties, tax records. Everything seemed normal until I found something that made my blood run cold. A consultation form for a family law attorney in Boulder, dated 3 weeks ago. The notes were in Vanessa's handwriting. Custody options, asset protection, relocation possibilities. She'd been planning this for weeks, maybe months. The affair with Trevor wasn't spontaneous passion. It was an exit strategy. I photographed the document and put it back exactly where I found it. Tomorrow, I'd give Danny Walsh even more ammunition. Danny called me Friday morning with news that turned my stomach. "Your wife's not as smart as she thinks," he said. "Meet me at the same diner in an hour." I left the job site early, telling my crew I had a family emergency. That wasn't far from the truth. Danny spread photos across the table like a poker hand. Trevor Hamilton, 38, divorced last year, lives in a condo downtown. Bank manager at First National, like you said. Clean record, decent income. He pulled out more photos. These were taken Wednesday night. Vanessa and Trevor walking into his building. Vanessa leaving Thursday morning wearing the same clothes from the night before. Trevor's hand on her back as they entered a restaurant I'd never been to. "How long have you been watching them?" I asked. 3 days. They've got a routine. Tuesday and Thursday nights at his place. Wednesday lunch at that Italian place on 16th Street. Very predictable. Danny pulled out a financial report. "This is where it gets interesting. Your wife opened a business account last month. She's been moving money there from your joint account, small amounts, but it adds up to about $8,000 so far." 8,000. I noticed the account balance was low, but I'd assumed it was normal monthly expenses. She's also been charging business expenses to the salon that don't match any services she's actually providing. Fictional clients, fake appointments. She's building a cash reserve you can't touch. The betrayal cut deeper than the affair itself. She was stealing from our family, from Elijah's future, to fund her escape plan. "There's more," Danny said. "I followed her to her lawyer's office yesterday. Henderson and Associates in Boulder. They specialize in high-asset divorces where one spouse tries to hide money. She's that far ahead. Your wife's been planning this for months, Adrian. The affair with Trevor is just the cherry on top." I stared at the photos, at this evidence of systematic deception. "What do you recommend?" "Strike first. File before she does. Document everything. And whatever you do, don't let her know you're onto her." That night, Vanessa came home late again, claiming the bridal party consultation had run over. She kissed my cheek like nothing had changed, asked about my day like she cared about the answer. "How's the Henderson project going?" she asked, opening a bottle of wine. "Good. Should wrap up next week. And then, probably that shopping center renovation in Lakewood. Big job, good money." She nodded, but I caught her making a mental note, calculating how much she could claim in support payments. "Probably." "Vanessa," I said, sitting down across from her, "is everything okay between us?" She looked up from her wine, and for a split second, I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt, maybe, or just annoyance at having to maintain the charade. "Of course," she said. "Why would you ask that? You've been working a lot lately. I miss spending time together. I'm building something here, Adrian. The salon's finally taking off. I thought you'd be proud of me." "I'm proud of you." She smiled, and it looked almost genuine. Almost. Sunday morning, I woke up to find Vanessa already gone. A note on the kitchen counter said she'd taken Elijah to the park. But when I called her phone, it went straight to voicemail. Something told me they weren't at any park in Denver. Thursday evening, Vanessa came home looking like she'd been hit by a truck. Her makeup was smudged, her hair disheveled, and she was clutching her phone like a lifeline. "We need to talk," she said, dropping her purse on the counter. "Sure," I said, not looking up from helping Elijah with his building blocks. "What's on your mind?" "Someone's been following me, Adrian. Taking pictures." I glanced up with what I hoped looked like concern. "Pictures? What kind of pictures?" "Of me and a friend. Someone hired a private investigator." "That's terrible," I said. "Who would do such a thing?" She stared at me for a long moment. "Did you hire someone to follow me?" "Why would I do that?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "You told me you found someone better. Remember?" Vanessa's face flushed. "This isn't a game, Adrian." "You're right," I said, standing up. "It's not a game. Games have rules, and players respect each other." "What's that supposed to mean?" I walked to our home office and returned with the family law consultation papers. "It means I found these in your desk drawer." Her face went white. "You went through my things." "My things," I corrected. "This is my house, Vanessa. The one I built with my own hands while you were planning your escape." "Adrian, I can explain." "Explain what?" How you've been moving money to secret accounts. How you've been lying to Dr. Morrison about Elijah's behavior. How you've been building a case to take my son away from me." She opened her mouth, then closed it. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued. "Tomorrow, you're going to call your lawyer and tell him you've changed your mind. You're going to stop the financial transfers, and you're going to sign custody papers giving me primary custody of Elijah. You can't make me do any of that. Actually, I can. See, adultery is still grounds for divorce in Colorado, and financial fraud is a felony. So is making false statements to medical professionals about child abuse." Vanessa sank into a chair. "Trevor said you'd never fight back. He said you were too passive. Trevor doesn't know me very well, does he?" She looked up at me with something I'd never seen before. "Fear. What do you want?" she whispered. "I want you to disappear," I said quietly. "I want you to take your fancy clothes and your secret bank account and your sophisticated bank manager, and I want you to get out of my life." "And Elijah?" "Elijah stays with his father, where he belongs." She started to cry then, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of anger, of frustration at being outmaneuvered. "This isn't over," she said. "Yes, it is." Friday morning, I woke up to find Vanessa's side of the bed empty. Her suitcase was gone, along with most of her clothes and jewelry. She'd left a note on the kitchen counter. "This isn't how I wanted things to end. Trevor and I are going to stay at his place while we figure things out. Don't try to stop me from seeing Elijah." I crumpled the note and threw it in the trash. Then I called Danny Walsh. "She's running," I told him. "Probably thinks she can regroup and attack from a different angle. Wanted to keep following her. For now. But I think the hard part's over." I was wrong. That afternoon, while I was picking up Elijah from kindergarten, my phone rang. It was Dr. Morrison. "Adrian, I need to see you immediately. Vanessa was here an hour ago with a man I didn't recognize. They demanded to see Elijah's medical records, claiming you'd been abusing him." My blood turned to ice. "What did you tell them?" "I told them to get out of my office." "But Adrian, they had official-looking papers. Some kind of court order." "I'll be right there." I dropped Elijah off at my sister's house and raced to Dr. Morrison's office. She was waiting for me with a grim expression. "They had a temporary restraining order," she said, handing me a copy, "claiming you've been physically abusing Elijah and that he's in immediate danger." I read the document, my hands shaking with rage. It was full of lies. Claims that Elijah had unexplained bruises, that he'd told Vanessa I hit him, that he was terrified of being alone with me. "This is all fabricated," I said. "I know that, but it's official enough to fool most people. They wanted me to turn over his medical files as evidence." "Did you?" "Hell no." I told them I need to verify the order with the court first. "But Adrian, if this is real, you could lose custody immediately." I called my lawyer from Dr. Morrison's parking lot. He answered on the first ring. "Jim, I need help. Vanessa just got a restraining order claiming I abuse Elijah." "That's impossible. No judge would issue an order like that without a hearing." "Then how does she have one?" "Let me make some calls. Don't go home, don't try to contact your wife, and don't pick up Elijah until I figure out what's happening." An hour later, Jim called back. "It's fake. The court has no record of any restraining order. Your wife and her boyfriend created fraudulent legal documents. Can we have them arrested?" "We can try. But first, we need to document everything. Get to the police station and file a report." This just became a criminal matter. That evening, I sat in the police station filling out paperwork while Detective Sarah Martinez took my statement. Vanessa's desperate gambit had backfired spectacularly. "Mr. Burke," Detective Martinez said, "creating fake court documents is a serious felony. If we can prove your wife did this, she's looking at real jail time." "Good," I said. "Maybe that'll finally convince her this is over." My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You win. Keep Elijah. I'm leaving Colorado." I showed the text to Detective Martinez. "Looks like she just confessed," she said with a smile. The war was over. I'd won. 2 weeks passed in blessed silence. No calls from Vanessa, no threats from lawyers, no fake court documents. I was starting to believe the nightmare was actually over when Danny Walsh called with interesting news. "Your ex-wife's boyfriend just got fired," he said without preamble. I paused in the middle of rewiring a circuit panel. "Trevor?" "What?" "Bank audit discovered some irregularities in loan approvals. Seems he'd been fast-tracking applications for certain clients without proper documentation. Guess who one of those clients was?" "Vanessa." "Bingo. She got a $50,000 business loan last month with almost no collateral. The bank's calling it fraud. I set down my wire strippers. So they're both in legal trouble now. Gets better. The FBI's involved because it's bank fraud. Federal crime. Your ex picked the wrong guy to run away with. That evening, while Elijah worked on a puzzle at the kitchen table, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Adrian, it's me. Vanessa's voice was barely a whisper. What do you want? I need help. Trevor's been arrested. They're saying I'm involved in bank fraud. They froze all my accounts. That's unfortunate. Adrian, please. I know I hurt you, but I never meant for any of this to happen. I looked at Elijah, concentrating on fitting puzzle pieces together with the same focus I brought to electrical work. My son, safe, happy, building something with his own hands. Vanessa, you made your choice. You said I was dead weight, remember? You found someone better. I was wrong. I made terrible mistakes. Yes, you did. But they're your mistakes to live with. What about Elijah? Don't you think he needs his mother? That made me laugh. Actually laugh. The mother who tried to fake abuse allegations against his father? The mother who forged legal documents? The mother who abandoned him for a criminal? I never abandoned him. You signed away your parental rights for money, Vanessa. That's the definition of abandonment. Silence. Then, I want to see him. No. You can't keep him from me forever. Actually, I can. You have no legal rights anymore. You made sure of that. Adrian, I'm begging you. I hung up and blocked the number. Daddy, who is that? Elijah asked, looking up from his puzzle. Nobody important, buddy. How's that puzzle coming? Almost done. Look, it's a lighthouse. It helps ships find their way home when they're lost. That's perfect, Elijah. Lighthouses are very important. He nodded seriously and went back to work. Smart kid. He understood the value of steady lights in dark places. Later that night, after Elijah was asleep, I sat in my workshop organizing tools. Everything in its place, every circuit properly grounded, every connection secure. My phone buzzed with a text from Danny. Trevor's looking at 5 to 10 years. Vanessa's hired a public defender. Thought you should know. I deleted the message and went back to my tools. Some storms destroy everything in their path. Others just clear away the deadwood, leaving room for new growth. 3 months later, Elijah and I had settled into our new routine. Mornings started with breakfast and electrical lessons. Evenings ended with homework and building projects. Weekends meant trips to the hardware store and working on a house together. Daddy, why do we need ground wires? Elijah asked, watching me replace an outlet in his bedroom. Safety, buddy. The ground wire gives electricity a safe path if something goes wrong. It protects people, like how you protect me. I looked at my son, his serious 5-year-old face, studying the wiring diagram I'd drawn for him. Exactly like that. The doorbell interrupted our lesson. Through the window, I saw a woman in a business suit holding official-looking papers. My stomach tightened. Mr. Burke, I'm Linda Stevens from Child Protective Services. We need to discuss some allegations that have been made. My blood ran cold. What allegations? May I come in? I led her to the living room, keeping Elijah close. She sat down with a sympathetic expression that didn't reach her eyes. We received a report claiming your son is being exposed to dangerous working conditions. The caller said you're teaching him to work with electrical equipment. Who made this report? I can't reveal that information, but I need to inspect your home and interview your son privately. I knew exactly who had made the call. One last desperate move from Vanessa. Of course, I said. But first, I'd like you to speak with Dr. Rachel Morrison, Elijah's pediatrician. She can verify his health and well-being. For the next hour, Ms. Stevens went through every room in the house. She found my workshop organized and safe, with all dangerous tools locked away. She found Elijah's room filled with educational books and building toys. She found a refrigerator covered with his artwork and a father who clearly adored his son. Mr. Burke, she said finally, whoever made this report was either misinformed or deliberately malicious. Your home is safe, your son is clearly well cared for, and your teaching methods are actually quite impressive. So we're done here. Unless you have concerns you'd like to discuss. Just one. The person who made this false report is my ex-wife. She's facing federal fraud charges and has been trying to regain custody through false allegations. I'd like this documented. Ms. Stevens made notes in her file. I'll include that in my report. Mr. Burke, False reports to CPS are serious crimes. If this happens again, we'll pursue charges. After she left, I found Elijah in his room, looking worried. Daddy, am I in trouble? No, buddy. Someone told a lie about us, but the truth always wins in the end. Like in the stories you read me. Exactly like that. That evening, I got a call for Dr. Morrison. Adrian, I just wanted you to know that CPS called to verify Elijah's medical records. I told them he's one of the healthiest, happiest kids I treat. Thank you, Rachel, for everything. That woman won't give up, will she? She will, I said, watching Elijah build a complex structure with his blocks. She's running out of ammunition, and I'm done playing defense. The next morning, I call my lawyer. Jim, I want to file a restraining order against Vanessa. Criminal harassment, false reporting to government agencies, attempts to interfere with custody. That'll be easy to prove. Good, because I'm done with her games. Elijah and I have a life to build, and we did. Every day, we build something new together. Trust, stability, a future where lighthouse fathers guided their sons safely home. 6 months after the divorce finalized, I thought we were finally in the clear. Elijah was thriving in first grade, my electrical business was booming, and we'd established a routine that worked. Then I got a call that reminded me never to underestimate desperate people. Mr. Burke, this is Detective Martinez. We need to talk about your ex-wife. My stomach dropped. What's she done now? She's been arrested for stalking and harassment. Seems she's been watching your house, following your son's school bus, and calling his school pretending to be you. I looked out the window at Elijah playing in our backyard, building a treehouse with scrap lumber I'd given him. How long has this been going on? The school principal says about 2 weeks. She called yesterday claiming there was a family emergency and she needed to pick up Elijah. When they asked for verification, she hung up. Where is she now? County jail. But here's the thing. She made bail this morning. Her new boyfriend posted it. New boyfriend. Of course. Vanessa had moved on again. What's his name? Todd Thompson. Real estate developer. Apparently has money to burn and a soft spot for sob stories. That evening, I installed new security cameras around the house and upgraded our alarm system. I also called Elijah's school and spoke directly with the principal. Mrs. Williams, under no circumstances is anyone other than me authorized to pick up my son. I don't care what emergency they claim. Already noted in his file, Mr. Burke. But you should know, she seemed to know details about Elijah's daily routine. What time he arrives, which door he uses, even what he packs for lunch. She'd been watching us. For weeks. I picked up Elijah early that day and took him to my sister's house across town. We're having a sleepover with Aunt Karen tonight. I told him, is everything okay, Daddy? Everything's fine, buddy. Just being extra careful. That night, my security cameras caught her, Vanessa and a man I didn't recognize, sitting in a black SUV across from my house for 3 hours. Watching. Waiting. I called Detective Martinez immediately. I have her on camera. How's that for a restraining order violation? Send me the footage. We'll pick her up in the morning. The next day, Vanessa was back in jail, this time without bail. Her new boyfriend apparently decided stalking charges weren't worth his investment. Mr. Burke, Detective Martinez called later that afternoon. She wants to talk to you. Claims she has information about threats against your son. What threats? She won't say. Just that she needs to warn you about something. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her at the jail. Supervised, recorded, official. Vanessa looked terrible. Thin, hollow-eyed, wearing an orange jumpsuit that made her look older than her years. When she saw me through the glass partition, she started crying. Adrian, you have to listen to me. Todd isn't who you think he is. I don't think he's anyone. I don't know him. He has a criminal record. Violence against women. When he found out about Elijah, he said things. What things? He said children are easy targets. That if I couldn't get custody legally, there were other ways. The room went cold. Are you saying he threatened my son? I left him after that. But Adrian, he knows where you live, where Elijah goes to school. He's angry about the money he lost on my bail. For the first time in months, I believed her. Not because I trusted her, but because genuine fear doesn't lie. Why should I believe you now? Because I may be a terrible wife and a worse mother, but I would never let anyone hurt Elijah. He's still my son. The police took the threat seriously. Within hours, they had Todd Thompson under surveillance. Detective Martinez called that evening with an update that made my blood run cold. We found weapons in his vehicle, Mr. Burke. Zip ties, duct tape, and detailed notes about your son's schedule. This guy wasn't making idle threats. I tightened my grip on the phone. Where is he now? Arrested. Multiple felony charges including stalking, making terrorist threats, and possession of burglary tools. He's looking at 10 to 15 years. And Vanessa? Her information helped us prevent a serious crime. The DA's office is considering a plea deal in exchange for her cooperation. That night, I sat in Elijah's room watching him sleep. My son, safe in his own bed, surrounded by building blocks and electrical diagrams, and all the tools of childhood curiosity. In the morning, I'd have to explain why we needed to be extra careful for a while, why Daddy would be walking him to school personally. But tonight, I just watched him dream and felt grateful for every breath he took. The next morning brought unexpected news. Jim Parker, my lawyer, called with information about Vanessa's plea deal. She's agreeing to permanent termination of parental rights in exchange for time served and 5 years probation. No contact with you or Elijah ever again. She's giving up her son to avoid jail time. Apparently, she's decided that being a mother was never really what she wanted. She wants to start over somewhere else, with someone else. I thought about that while making Elijah breakfast. Vanessa had burned through 2 relationships in less than a year, both with men who turn out to be criminals. Maybe she was finally learning that running away from problems doesn't solve them. Daddy, you look serious, Elijah said, eating his cereal. Just thinking, buddy. How would you feel about legally changing your last name to just Burke? What do you mean? I mean making it official that you're my son and nobody else has any claim on you. He considered this with the seriousness only a 6-year-old can muster. Will I still be me? You'll always be you. Just with extra protection. Like a ground wire? I smiled. Exactly like a ground wire. 2 months later, the adoption was finalized. Elijah Burke, legally and permanently my son. No shared custody, no visitation rights, no complications. Just a father and son building a life together. We celebrated with ice cream and a trip to the hardware store, where Elijah picked out his own tool set. Real tools, size for small hands but built to last. Daddy, when I grow up, will I be as good at fixing things as you? You'll be better, I said, watching him examine a small screwdriver with professional interest. Because you're starting with a stronger foundation. That evening, as we worked together on wiring a lamp for his room, I realized something important. Vanessa thought she was escaping to freedom, but freedom isn't about running away from responsibility. It's about choosing what you're responsible for and protecting it with everything you have. Elijah and I built something that would last. Something grounded in truth, constructed with patience, and designed to withstand any storm. Some people are born to create. Others are born to destroy. The difference is in what they choose to build.